This podcast discusses video games, modern culture, and technology, and these podcasters are big fat potty mouths. If you're younger than 18 or are easily offended, please stop this podcast now. Oh, and your mom says to take out the trash and do your homework.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to GameHounds episode 266. We are recording on Wednesday, June 11th, 2014. I'm Edie Sellers. With me is Holy Goalie, Nick DiNicola, and it is E3 week. I saw everything except Ubisoft. Nick, I think you saw everything but Ubisoft. Goalie?
No, I saw everything.
You saw everything.
I'm trying to use Ubisoft. Ubisoft are like the best games there.
All right, good. And then, Goalie, what did you see?
Well, things kind of went pot over here real quick this weekend, so it threw off my Monday and Tuesday, mostly my Monday. So I was trying to, get with you guys and watch these things, and it didn't happen. So I caught the end of your last show, you and Nick, on Spreaker Monday, which I think you guys were talking about Xbox. And it was just about 3 o'clock, and I was like, okay, well, let me sit down and catch the Microsoft Xbox press conference on replay. I'll check it out on replay, and then that way I'll be up to speed. You know what I mean? And so what better place to watch the Microsoft Xbox replay of their press conference from E3 2014 than on my Xbox 360? So I fire up my Xbox 360 and wait the mandatory 2 to 3 minutes that it does take now to boot up. And, I have a dashboard update. So now I got to wait for that to download. Okay, download and reboot again. And now, we have to install the update. Then finally, after all that, 6, 7, 8 minutes goes by, I get to my dashboard on the 360. And right on the top is the E3 event player Microsoft press conference. Click. And I go to a screen that's just sitting there. And I'm like, okay, well, obviously that's the live event player, and they're not live anymore. But the last time I did that, it did show the replay.
Right.
Okay, I think it was the space thing or something. The shuttle. I don't know if it was the shuttle or the whatever.
The Mars landing.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, I know that, that last time it did work. Okay, fine. So I close out of that. Then I try to negotiate the god-awful 360 dashboard, which I friggin' hate so bad, to find anything that's a video player that might have this. And I can't.
Yeah.
So I give up. So I'm 20 minutes friggin' with my Xbox trying to find the E3 replay. Can't find it. Okay.
This all just sounds like one big excuse for you not watching a thing.
So it gets better. It gets better. Nick, it gets so much better. So then I said, well, I'm going to kick back and pull out my iPad. I'll watch it on my iPad, right? I went everywhere, and no one had a mobile view of the press conference. The only thing I did find...
Really? You didn't go to YouTube?
I went on YouTube and Twitch. The only thing at that time, which was about an hour or so after the thing got over, was snippets. So in other words, I could watch 5 minutes of the battlefield, or I could watch 5 minutes of this, or 3 minutes and 40 seconds of that. You follow me? Like they were all broken up into little clips.
Right.
I couldn't find the entire show on the iPad that I could watch. I'm not saying it wasn't there, but I looked everywhere, and I couldn't find it. So finally, I was like, okay, well, that's just great. So I go to the bar, I fire up the laptop, and I'm not going to sit on a stool and watch an hour and a half press conference. That ain't going to happen, but that's the only way I could do it. So I kind of skimmed through it until I had to take the dog to the vet. So I got maybe 20 minutes to a half hour.
So you skimmed through it and ended up watching clips?
Yeah, just like click, okay, what's this about? Okay, they're showing this game or whatever. Click, speed it up 5 minutes, speed it up 5 minutes. So I kind of got a little gist of what Microsoft was. Still not very good way to do it. But that's the only way I could do it because I had to run out the door. That night, Sony was on. And I was like, hey, Mrs. Goalie, a couple years ago, remember you sat and you watched Microsoft with me and they talked about all these great games? I says, well, since we both have PS4s, why don't we sit tonight after dinner at 9 o'clock our time and watch the Sony press conference?
I'm sorry.
So she's like, yeah, sounds like a great idea. Well, at 9 o'clock we go out, we sit in front of the TV, and no one has it on TV. Now, years ago,
Nobody has it on TV.
All
They
big
always have Spike, but Spike will do Xbox, but they won't do Sony because it's 6:00, and they had to play reruns of Walking the Line or some rock movie.
Something stupid.
They'd already played 3 times that day.
Oh my gosh! So it's like, I remember years ago we used to say, and they had the 3 majors and maybe even EA,
but they were never on TV.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah,
Only Microsoft was ever on TV.
No. The one that Edie went to, and I remember she was texting me while she was there. We watched.
The only time that they were on TV is when G4 was a station.
Well, maybe that's what it was then. But I know that Spike has done some coverage. So here it is, 2014, and you can't watch him anywhere on TV anymore. I'm like, are you kidding me? So I said, aha,
go to the PlayStation.
I'm going to turn on my PS4 and watch the Sony PlayStation E3 2014 press conference. And I turn it on, and I go to the live thing that they got. And
there was an E3 app. It was. I watched it on the PlayStation after the fact because I was out until like 10 o'clock that night. So I watched it. Actually, did I watch it? No, I did not watch it after the fact on the PlayStation. I watched it after the fact on my computer. But they had it available, and it
sounds like you went through a lot of work. When if you just watch it on a PC, it would have been so much easier.
Hang on. So this is something we're trying to do together. Date night, watch the Sony press conference. That's what we do over here, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And so we can't watch it on the TV. I turned on the PS4, and there was a few users that had it that were trying to stream, and all their streams were paused. And everybody in the chat room's like, it's not working. Nobody's stream's working. We can't watch this. Like, I went to 4 or 5 different rooms. Nothing was working. You'd think front and center on the Twitch app would be Sony, top corner, with like 100,000 people watching their press conference on the PS4.
Right.
Oh, couldn't find it. I didn't know that they had an app for it. I mean, do you think they would advertise that somewhere that I could see it? Again...
and the app didn't work. I tried to watch it after the fact on the app. It was supposedly there, and it's a very pretty app, but it's kind of cool. But when you go in to watch the videos on the app, it will take you into the browser so that you have to load up on the browser the browser in PlayStation, which is not good. It does not work very well, and mine would not work at all. So I eventually had to just go to my computer and watch it until 3:30 in the morning.
Yeah, so we're sitting there. It's not on TV. It's not on the PS4 that I could find.
Yeah.
And now it's getting to be 9:30, and she says, you know something? I'm just going to go to bed. And I'm like, we're done. We're done. I spent all day trying to find Xbox. That went to shit. And then I finally sit on live to watch Sony. That goes to shit. So I ended up pulling out my iPad, and someone did have a stream. I don't know who the heck it was. I don't know if it was Twitch or I don't know who had it, but I did get a stream on my iPad that I sat there and watched late. By the time I got on, I was late, so I missed a bunch. And even that, it kept stuttering. And I remember last year I did watch it on the laptop and I think we tried to do a live show last year, and it kept stuttering and pausing and buffering. It's like, man, I tell you, I was out of my mind yesterday with all my personal stuff going on, then trying to do all the E3 stuff with no luck. Watching anything, really had no luck watching anything. And the whole underlying theme is all these games I ain't going to play for 2 to 3 years, if at all.
Actually, most of the PlayStation ones they talked about were by the end of this year.
Some, but then everything's getting friggin' delayed again. It's like, and here's the great thing. Yep, here's Star Wars Battlefront. We saw that last year, and here's a picture of people building the game. Next year we might have cover art. It's like, I'm just so aggravated trying so hard to watch these things, and then I'm like, why?
Yeah, they do. E3 has always been, especially the press conferences, if you are not watching a live stream on your computer, it is notoriously hard to watch. And I'm not really quite sure.
At least now you can go on YouTube and they have everything.
Right, on your computer. But if you want to sit down on your couch and watch it, it's notoriously difficult. And the only reason why I got to see EA sitting on my couch is because I had recorded it from earlier in the day. I had the foresight. But if I hadn't had that, I don't know that I could have found EA.
I'm just beside myself.
Yeah. Well, that's right. Fortunately, we saw it, so we can go through it. Do you want to talk about EA or do you want to talk about Sony first? Sony was the big one. God, that was a long conference. It was. I disagree.
No, like the first, I guess. Okay,
the first half was underwhelming.
The first half was good, and then the second half is like this blank in my memory where I nearly died of boredom.
Oh yeah, exactly the opposite. All the butter was at the end, as far as I was concerned.
Oh God! See, the thing is, you like all that hardware stuff, but come on, I like the PlayStation 4. But let's all admit that Sony can't make a peripheral to save their life.
I'll agree with you on that.
Everything that they make, they kind of abandon 6 months after they put it out and just let it fade.
Right,
into
and the thing is that I don't mind that because I'm looking at it from a point of view of saying, what's the big announcements? What are you sinking your money into? What are you putting out there? Even if it fails, I am agnostic of whether things fail or succeed.
But that's kind of important because I look at the Vita, the PlayStation TV, and think, okay, that's kind of a neat thing. No one's going to remember that existed by next E3.
Possibly.
There will be like 10 people who buy one, and will love it for one thing that it does right, and then no one else will buy it because
everything it does wrong.
Really, honestly, why the fuck would you?
So, do we want to talk about EA or PlayStation first? I guess we should probably
PlayStation has some good games.
All right, so PlayStation, which was on Monday night Pacific time, 6:00 Pacific time. Andrew House came out first and showed us the big ticket item, Destiny. And by the way, Andrew House is the president and CEO of PlayStation. It's going to come to PS first, but not exclusively. And a beta is going to start July 17th.
When they say that, they mean that you can play the beta first on PlayStation,
right.
Not that the game itself will be released first.
Right. I'm sorry. Yeah. Exactly.
That's such goddamn corporate talk.
And Thursday, tomorrow through the weekend, they announced an early beta, which means that if you sign up through their website, you can, which is greatnessawaits.com/Destiny. You can sign up for the beta, and if you are chosen, then you have an opportunity to play Destiny Thursday through the weekend. And that's a first look that's coming to them. In addition to the PS exclusive, there's going to be PS exclusive content on Destiny. They are also going to release a white PS4, which is going to be an exclusive Destiny bundle. It's going to have a 500 gigabyte hard drive, white PS4, plus a white controller, plus the game, plus a 30-day voucher for PS Plus. It's coming out on September 9th.
Okay, but beyond all that, that's all extraneous stuff. What did you think of the game itself?
I thought it looked cool, but I see a lot of things that look cool. Just
because for some reason
I want to see what it plays.
Maybe it was the stream I was watching it on, but I thought, wow, that's Destiny. It doesn't look very good. It doesn't, like, just graphically. I was
it doesn't, right, yeah. It did not stand out as like, oh my God. Yeah, there was no standout.
So that was disappointing. But then I did, on Giant Bomb, they have these things called quick looks where they play games, and I guess before E3, they gotten a hold of Destiny, but they couldn't post it until after E3.
Mm-hmm.
So they posted that, which gives a much more in-depth, detailed look at the game and how you're actually playing it. And it actually looks pretty neat. It looks very good graphically, and it looks like it could be really fun, like a mix of Halo and Borderlands. But I was just surprised because I thought it came off so poorly in that press conference.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Next item that came up was they went through the order.
Yeah.
That looked awesome.
That does.
That looked awesome.
The gimmick of the order is that there's a seamless transition between cutscene and gameplay. And it sounds like such a minor thing on paper or on podcast, but when you actually see it, it looks so cool.
Yeah.
Because it's just a cutscene of like this werewolf appearing, and then all of a sudden you're playing it. Like there's no fade to black. There's no cut. There's like no nothing. It's just you're playing it, and then it's into the cutscene, and it just everything flows so smoothly. I'm more excited for that now than I ever was.
Yeah, me too.
Up to
me
it.
too. Yeah, it was
I could
the
not
guy
give
was
a shit. The day before yesterday.
Yep.
Now I'm legitimately interested in it.
Yeah. It was. I think Goldie would love it because when it was they came into it, it was a guy walking through a building, a darkened building, and there was it looked like it actually reminded me of Outlast a little bit at the beginning. It was obviously a hospital. Walking through darkened hallways, and then comes across a werewolf. And the werewolf, of course, can talk and calls him swine. And they are hard to kill. And it looks great. It's definitely scary as
doesn't fall into the same problem that Watch Dogs has, where we keep hearing about it and hearing about it and hearing about it. And the more you hear about it and the more they pump it up, the higher the bar you set for this game. You know what I mean? Like, it looks really cool right now, and so did Watch Dogs. But after a year or two, Watch Dogs fell short because that's all you heard about, and so you expected this unbelievable thing. I'm kind of thinking that's where this is going. I think it's going to be a good game, but I think it's going to disappoint us because of the Watchdog effect.
I will say a different. I will say that I don't believe in the Watchdog effect in this because the Watch Dogs was doing something very, very, very different. This
it promised something more. This just promises to be a shooter.
This promises to be something a shooter. This promises to be a survival horror shooter that scares the crap out of you, and that's a known quantity. I don't think
it's not a survival horror shooter. It's just a cover-based third-person shooter. From what I understand.
Yeah.
It has kind of like a gothic setting, but I think it only extends the setting.
Okay. Well, either way, it does not promise anything that's completely new, completely different, never been seen before, so therefore clunky. This is kind of a genre that is already been done a lot of times, so there's an experience behind it. Of how to do it right. The only thing that comes up technologically different is the fact that the cutscenes and the gameplay are seamless.
I just hope the story is good, because if they're going to put that much emphasis on like cutscene gameplay transition, obviously there's going to be a lot of cutscenes, which means obviously there's going to be a lot of story, which means hopefully that story is good. Because if it's not, its whole gimmick kind of falls apart. Werewolves
are the new zombies.
I hope so.
Yep. Werewolves are going to be the new zombies. God, that werewolf was scary as fuck.
Well, you know what was funny? That werewolf started off as a zombie.
Mm-hmm. And then they realized, this is just more zombies. I've been looking for the new meme.
Video. The guy comes across this decayed corpse thing, eating another corpse, and then as he walks up to it, the zombie looks at him and then starts mutating.
That's right.
Until it turns into a werewolf.
Yep. So, next game that they showed was something called Entwined, which is kind of I want to say it's like an art piece, like flower. It's a fish and bird with very long tails. It's kind of funny that this came out as early in the show as it did. It's being done by...
that's because it's out now.
Is it? Oh, that's right. It is out now, isn't it? Pixel Opus, which is a conglomeration of recent graduates from the Carnegie Mellon Animation and Tech Department and the San Jose State Animation and Illustration Program. So it's fairly new people within the industry, and it's about two souls in love but cannot be together, and I'm assuming that is the fish and the bird. But when they do come together, they create a dragon. And two characters, one each, they have 9 lifetimes where they're together. So I guess it means 9 levels. But apparently it's like an art piece, and it looked really beautiful.
Yeah. Do you know Dyad?
No.
It's kind of it looks like it plays like Dyad, but with 2 control sticks. So
right. One, that's right. A control stick, one stick for each of the 2.
And it's
the one for the fish, one for the bird.
Things along that tunnel.
Yeah.
By moving them in unison, around opposite walls of that tunnel. So you're kind of, in a way, it's a lot like Duet, that iOS game that we saw at PAX.
Right.
That everyone hated except me, because like you have to keep in mind these two separate things moving at the same time.
Yep. True.
Which could be a nice little.
Yeah, and it's available now, $9.99 on the PS Store for the PS3, Vita. PS3 and Vita will follow shortly afterwards, but it's available for the PS4 right now. And then next thing what came was Sucker Punch Studios' Infamous's new DLC. It's a standalone. It's coming later this year, called Infamous First Light, August 2014.
I'm really glad. It seems like that Freedom Cry thing for Assassin's Creed really was the start of a trend, at least on PlayStation.
Yeah. That
you don't need the main game to play the DLC.
Right. It's a good idea. It's a great very good idea, because if you play it, you might go back to the game itself.
Yeah. Or even then, if you buy it, you might then go buy the game that you didn't before.
Yeah. That's what I meant.
I love that.
Yeah. It's a good idea. And I think that it's a good trend. And I don't want to say that you're buying a demo after the fact, but the people that buy the games on the day one or shortly afterwards, you've already got them. They were already leaning towards you. These are the people that didn't, either because they weren't sure or they've never played the game before. And this is like creating a whole new audience after the initial run. So it gives it kind of a length of length of lifespan for the game itself.
I kind of ran out of steam with Second Son, actually.
Yeah.
I haven't been back to that. I did like it, enjoyed it. I don't know. It just ran out of steam.
Although I get the feeling that like this Second Son First Light is more not so much Second Son as Second Daughter. Isn't she a chick?
No, I guess the character in First Light is a character who is in Second Son. So it's kind of like an expansion of her story.
Second Daughter.
Except I don't think she's related to anyone.
Probably not.
Stepdaughter?
Yes.
Second
yes.
BFF.
Redheaded stepchild?
Yes.
Friends with benefit. Okay. Next item was Little Big Planet 3. There are
waiting for you to get to the important game.
I'm going through it because I'm going through everything. Little Big Planet 3. There's going to be an addition to our Sackboy, where there is 3 new characters. One is Oddsock, which is kind of like a little dog that can wall walk. Toggle, who can either be very large and strong or very small. And Swoop, who can fly and can actually pick up other characters and lift them. And so it creates far more diversity in the kind of games that you can make, the kind of things that you can do. They played a little bit on there.
I really liked that demo.
I did too.
It was clear that the people were like playing it.
Right.
It didn't look rehearsed because like that one person had trouble doing the double jump off the wall.
Right.
And it actually looked like how people play games.
Yeah.
It didn't look like, this manufactured stage show, and I kind of like that.
Yeah, and I have not been interested in Little Big Planet since about 5 minutes after I bought Little Big Planet 1. But this actually might get me back to Little Big Planet, because now because of the diversity of together. So I'm liking that. Let's see what else. Next one was Shuhei Yoshida, President Worldwide Studio. He said, Little Big Planet, you can go online and play with the new Little Big Planet 3. You can go online and play any Little Big Planet 2 games on Little Big Planet 3, which is kind of cool.
That's nice.
Let's see. From Software brought out a new IP, Bloodborne. Fucked up zombie shit. Oh my god.
I'm really sad that that's all just a trailer and that we didn't actually see gameplay.
Right. It's due out 2015, so it's a year out.
Fuck yeah, man. The guy that made Dark Souls making that.
Yeah.
All I need is a trailer.
Yeah.
That looked good.
It looked messed up. Oh my god.
It did. Did you see that fucking dog?
The dog.
Jeepers, yeah.
God damn, that dog.
Next item that came up was Far Cry 4. Alex Hutchinson,
Yes.
creative director,
Yes.
came out and just gave us more details on it. And you were going to, you're right, Karat is the name of the island. Actually, it's not really an island. It's a place in the Himalayas. You were going to play AJ Gale, who is a character. And then there's another character that comes out, plays Herc.
That is a fantastic name.
I guess it's coming in November.
Yes, it's this year.
Yes, and here's the big news about this. Far Cry 4, you can invite friends to join your game even if they don't own Far Cry 4.
How does that happen?
So, okay, they
Magic.
explained that a bit more on the Giant Bomb after show.
Uh-huh.
How it works is that when you get the game, you have like 10 invites. And you can invite people into your game who don't have it. But what that does is it disables story mode. So it's just like co-op fuck around in the world mode.
Mm-hmm.
So it's basically like a co-op demo. And you can invite people that don't have it. And you can play for a limited amount of time that way. But I don't... But
still,
yeah, you also only have the 10 invites.
That's
so it's not infinite.
pretty cool that you can go out and say, "Hey, would you like to try it? Here, try my game."
But whatever. That's not the point.
The point.
The point is motherfucking elephants.
Elephants, yeah, that's true. The elephants
fucking up jeeps, taking explosions to the face, and walking away like badasses.
Yeah. It was
that is
pretty
the
cool.
Far Cry I love. I cannot wait to sick elephants on people.
I hope it's as good as Far Cry 3. I'm hoping they don't go too far off the beaten path.
I think it's pretty much going to be. It looked like Far Cry 3.
Careen off the cliff and the guy jumped out as a wingsuit and flew down the mountain.
Yeah, that was awesome.
I did, but I'm just afraid.
Yeah.
Far Cry 3 was so good. I'm kind of hoping they don't.
I don't think they're gonna. They recognize what they did, right? And I didn't see a huge departure of mechanics beyond what was Far Cry 3. I saw just an expansion of what they were doing.
Yeah, I saw a new setting.
Yeah,
which is kind of all I need.
Yeah.
I'm so excited for that.
Dead Island 2, next game that came up. And
yeah, we didn't see any of that. We
really
just saw
didn't.
The trailer, but I like.
I got a good chuckle. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
the whole thing about Dead Island and what we went through. Sorry, just laughing. I
really like that trailer. I thought that was kind of a great trailer.
Yep.
But I think it's interesting that this one, like, it sells a tone that is kind of lighthearted, kind of wacky, kind of like. Hey,
that's the one with the guy
Isn't this fun?
jogger, right?
Yeah, the jogger.
The jogger.
It's like we're violent and we're fun. Well, the first one was like we're so dramatic.
Right.
It's like,
you're all going to die.
It's like they realized, okay, let's sell Dead Island based on how the game actually feels.
Right.
But I really like that trailer.
Yeah,
I thought that was a cool trailer.
And also announced at the same time was that Diablo 3 will have a Last of Us Zombies special dungeon in the Ultimate Evil edition of Diablo 3 due out August 19th. So you're going to get your zombies inside Diablo 3 just for one dungeon, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Let's see. Anyway, Dead Island 2 is going to have a 30-day exclusive beta full of exclusive characters, exclusive classes, exclusive levels. So yeah, did they say you had to sign up for that? It's just going to be, they didn't make a mention of that because I can't remember. I don't think I did. I don't think they did. But yeah, there's the PS4 is going to have a lot of exclusives on Dead Island 2. In addition, as far as other special exclusives, there's going to be a special beta for Hardline for PlayStation 4. There's also...
It's interesting. If you go on Twitch, you can watch people playing Hardline right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I did that a bit.
They have... That's very smart of them, is that they set up... And I feel so sorry for those people. They set up a rooftop. What the fuck were they thinking? A rooftop in LA in July in the middle of a heat wave And you have people up there playing a video game with no shade.
Ooh.
I saw that on Twitch, and they were like, and I'm thinking to myself, those poor bastards. It's like, oh, good news, you get to play online for a little while and have people watch on Twitch. Bad news, you have to do it in the midday sun of LA during a heat wave.
Wearing a black sweatshirt.
Wearing a black but wearing a black hardline t-shirt. Yep. Other exclusives for the PlayStation 4 Disney partnership: Hulk Smash, Disney Infinity 2 on PS4.
Well, I think it's just Hulk as a character.
Yeah. Destiny is going to have unique weapons, gear, armor, ships, and competitive multiplayer map called Exodus. It's a standalone, and also a new exclusive standalone mode called Strike on Mars, which are co-op adventures.
So I'm curious. I mean, I want to know what you guys think. You see that a lot in games nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, PlayStation gets these exclusive weapons.
I was just thinking the same thing.
All that. Like, do you really care about that?
Not really.
Well, I mean, if it's going to come to both, then if it's a week or two or a month, it's not that big of a deal. If it's not coming, then it might be more of a big deal depending on what it is.
Right.
Yeah, well, I'm just wondering, like, the weapons. I mean, like, that seems like a game that's kind of like Borderlands, you know? It's an RPG where you get loot and you get a bunch of weapons. And it's like, well, I get a special weapon for ordering on PlayStation, but, I mean, what does that really...
Yeah. Does it
Still
really give
split.
me an advantage? No, it's just,
Yeah.
I don't know
It's
how many
horse
games
armor.
I've done the pre-order for, and it's like, oh, you get this thing or whatever, and I don't ever remember really using those.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, oh, I forgot I had this.
Yeah.
It just seems strange that these companies, like, put so much money into these... When maybe that's a thing. Maybe it doesn't cost them that much to get these exclusive things.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Next section of the press conference went into they were doing it. Actually, it was part of halfway through the where they were bringing out suggestions that were made by people that wrote in, and one of them was like, "We want more zombies," so they went through all the ones. We want more exclusives, so they went through all the exclusives. Then they got to a little girl who was 12. But signed her name as she was 10, saying that she wanted old school Tim Schafer games, which was a hilarious thing. It turns out they pulled it back and it was Tim Schafer. But they were saying that they want old games to come back. Now, the exclusive game, they said that there are exclusive games for every studio that Paradox Interactive has. And one of the games that they're working on now is Magicka 2, which I was not into ever, but...
Wait, why did you skip over the Tim Schafer one?
But the next thing they announced was that Grim Fandango will be brought to the PS4 and Vita. I have exclamation points, circles. I gave it a whole page on my notebook. As soon as that, for me right there, if I didn't already have a PS4, that would have sold a PS4 for me. And I don't know if that says more about me or more about the game. But I have never played Grim Fandango. This will be my first time. I have wanted to play it for years, but it's really hard to find. And if you play it, it's clunky. I want to play it on a console. I'm so fucking excited about that. There's hardly words for it. So yes,
That's
Grim Fandango.
That you just don't expect them to.
Yeah. And the first thing that I heard when I said that is, remember last week, I forget who asked us to say, what's your hopes and fears for the E3? And if I could have said, if I'd even thought it was possible, I would have said Grim Fandango on the PS4.
Yeah, but you wouldn't even think that because it's
exactly. And as soon as I heard that, I was like, oh my God, this is it. Holy crap. This is what this is what I wanted. I didn't know I wanted it. I didn't even know it was possible.
Mm-hmm. When I saw Tim Schafer there, I thought they were going to announce something like, Broken Age is coming to PS4.
Right, exactly. That's what I did. But yeah, no. Yeah. But I was under the impression that Lucas owned Grim Fandango's IP.
Well, now Disney does.
Right. Which tells me that maybe we will start seeing, depending on how Grim Fandango does, we might see some of the other IPs come. Like, what was the motorcycle one that I loved?
Full Throttle.
Full Throttle.
Yeah,
Full Throttle coming
awesome.
to PS4? Fuck yes. Fuck yes. So, yeah. Yay, Grim Fandango. Next that came out was Devolver Studios. They did a console debut exclusives, and they had a ton of them. Talking about, and these are kind of like the smaller indie games, but these are console.
The thing is, like, I don't know most of those, so
it's
hard to get excited about them.
Right. Broforce, Titan Souls, Not a Hero, Hotline Miami, Wrong Number, and the Talos Principle. So there's quite a few of the smaller games that are going to have console debut exclusives.
Which, cool.
Yep.
I'm all for that.
And then the thing that a lot of people in the chat room are already quibbing about as soon as they started it, as soon as they got here, they're like, oh my God, did you hear about what Suda51's doing? They brought out Suda51's new game, the PS4 exclusive, Let It Die, due out in 2015. I need to find the
chat. Since when do people... I like Suda51, but I'm like crazy. Who likes Suda51 games?
Yeah, somebody said that Platinum Suda51 is one of the best ever. Let's see where. I'll scroll back. Somebody did.
Like, I like his games.
Kevin Bulwer, Suda51 may be the best developer after Platinum.
Wow. It's kind of nice to know that there are other Suda fans out there.
Yeah, and that thing looked goddamn brutal.
It did. I have no idea what it'll be like, but
yeah,
I like the logo. Let It Die with a Grim Reaper riding on a skateboard.
Yep.
That's totally Suda.
Journey team, the team that is worked on Journey, is all working on a new game now. It's called Abzu. Looks like it's water based with.
Yeah, I heard people say it's like Journey underwater.
Yeah, and it's going to be an exclusive debut, which means that it will probably not stay on PlayStation 4 exclusively, but it's an exclusive debut on PlayStation 4. And a console debut exclusive, No Man's Sky.
Yeah,
they brought out
so good.
Yeah, Sean Murray of Hello Games. This is, if you were going to talk about the weird brother in all of this one is either genius or awful. It's kind of a sci-fi game that is not based on the sci-fi like Battlestar Galactica. More like the sci-fi of, he even said, Heinlein, Asimov, and Clarke, where you were going to have a procedural, infinite, shareable universe, and every person who starts the game starts on a different planet, and you explore that planet, and that planet becomes kind of your planet, and every player helps discover a little bit more of the universe, but at the same time you can take off and go to other planets. However, you can fight in the skies. Your planet is your planet. There are many like them, but this one is mine.
I mark that one down. That could be a wicked goalie game. Putzing around, a little bit of fighting, a little bit of exploring. I thought it would look really good.
Yeah, and I like the fact that you could like discover species on your planet, and you add that to your database of information of what's known about the universe. But at the same time, there is an element of combat that
which is kind of necessary.
Yeah. Otherwise, it's just exploration.
Just the scope of it, like when the guy's on the ground and then he gets in a ship and he flies through the atmosphere and then he's in space and he starts a dogfight and the dogfighting ships fly down to another planet through the atmosphere and then they're flying over the ground. It's just like your jaw has to drop like, oh my God, he just moved from one planet to another. This is amazing.
Kevin Bulwer says, I missed the part about Entwined when I took the new puppy outside. Did anyone say they purchased it? I've not purchased it yet, but I probably will. But this game is either going to be awesome or crap.
But even for No Man's Sky, the art style is so beautiful.
Cool.
Like all the red grass and like the purple trees, like it stands out and it kind of hits you with its art. It's like, wow, this place looks alien.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. It's ambitious as fuck, which is awesome. I like games that are really trying to do something different in a completely different way. And yeah, this and the guy that does it that came out there, maybe I just got a feel off of him, but he seems like the kind of guy who just might make this work.
Mm-hmm. And like it's weird because that developer, the previous game was Joe Danger.
Oh,
which is kind
really?
of like a wacky version of Trials.
Right.
It's like,
I did not know
expect that.
Yeah. Who knew? Andrew House came back out and then took shots at Microsoft about being a camera being optional and about their Project Morpheus, which, there was an element of that, a little bit of gloating throughout the whole, whenever any of the PlayStation people came out, there was an element of gloating. Or they're like, hey, they're saying they're now listening to you. We were always listening to you. I think that was that whole section with the letters coming out. Was their way of saying, oh yeah, hey, guess what? You write us letters, we listen to it. Not like those other guys who decide in boardrooms to do shit you don't want and then change their mind. Here's what we've given you and will always give you. We are always about you.
I just thought it was really dumb when they started talking about, like, there's been 1 billion hours played on.
And I was going to say, this is the point.
This is 200 streams.
Right.
And I thought,
this is
the meaningless numbers.
Yeah, this is the point exactly when we get into the the press conference that Nick loses complete when
I just
started hating
fade
it.
away and think, well, what is going on?
Right.
Here?
Sean Layden,
so
the president and CEO of Sony USA, came out and started to talk about some of the statistics in the last year with the PS4, kind of doing what CEOs do at that was more speaking to the investors, and Sony has always had this section of
let me clarify this specifically. It's okay if they want to talk to investors,
but that's what E3 is.
They have a stage with a screen that literally spans the entire width of the auditorium.
Yeah.
It's a screen that extends beyond the stage itself.
Yes.
They have this massive, massive platform.
Right.
And for the hour after, maybe 40 minutes to an hour after they stopped showing all the game stuff, what they were showing was essentially a PowerPoint presentation. It was just a still picture with a guy yakking.
Right. But that's the thing is that's what E3 is.
It wasn't any important
Nick, E3
dynamic.
is not about you. That's what E3 is. It's full of investors. That's what it is. That's all. E3 is media and investors.
Put together a better presentation than that. That was one of the. Even if I was an investor, I'd be like, Jesus, these guys don't give a shit.
Well,
because they had the worst presentation of everything. It was just so god awful. Oh my god!
I'm sorry there were no flashy lights.
I'll go to a meeting. You're on a stage at E3. Take advantage of that.
Pretty much, Nick. If the guy walks out wearing the sport jacket and the collared shirt, then you need to stop listening because he's not talking to you. And that's what Sean Layden was wearing. When you see that guy come out, you know that he's going to go through statistics, going to go through numbers, going to go through stuff that is going to be important to people that are buying stock in the company, not you. PSN 95.
People who bought stock in the company should also realize that Sony has very poor history with peripherals, and so they should not be excited about Vita TV or Morpheus because both of those will bomb a year after they come out.
PSN 95% of PS4s are on PSN. 1.25 billion hours on games.
That's a meaningless number.
220 million times the share button has been pressed.
That's a meaningless number.
It is because a lot of times you press it and then you stop pressing it. YouTube.
Meaningless number.
You act like this whole section was completely useless. There wasn't. There was a lot of information in here, and this is why I like the second half.
There wasn't a lot of information. There was some good information presented amidst a lot of useless information in the most boring way possible.
This year, you will be able to share, instead of just on Twitch and Ustream, you will be able to share your videos directly from the PS4 on YouTube. And be able to view YouTube vids on their PS4.
I love that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's good.
Now we can get the GameHounds, YouTube thing back up and running.
Right. This summer, there's going to be new content in the Playroom with custom sets. And there are going to be at least 25 games in the next year that will be free to play, including Kingdom Under Fire by Blue Side, I think it is. Planet Side 2, which is huge. Planet Side 2 is coming free to play. And Guns
that's
Up.
On PS3, not 4. Okay, cool.
Right. Then they went into PS Now, which is, of course, what Gaikai was and is now PS Now. It's going to be available in the U.S. and Canada in open beta on July 31st. The PS3 and Vita will be shortly thereafter. PS Now will also be shipped on select Sony TVs. All you have to do is just add the DualShock to the TV. And you will have essentially PS Now.
Do you have to plug it in?
Probably wireless.
But like the controller takes batteries. Like it has to charge.
Right, you get a charging station and a controller. Or you probably can charge it on a USB like you do in the front of your, instead of plugging it.
Oh, that's right.
Right.
Duh. They have a USB.
Yeah. There's going to be 100 PS3 games to start. Dead Space 3, God of War Ascension, Metal Gear 5 Ground Zero, and Ultra Street Fighter 4 as examples of games that will be available on the PS Now, on the Sony TVs.
Wait, did you say Metal Gear Solid Ground Zeroes?
Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zero. That's what they said.
Weird game to have for that. Because that's out on PlayStation 4.
Right, and it's going to be available free to play on that. Yeah.
You're saying those games are going to be free to play?
Those games are going to be on not free to play, on PS Now. Those games are going to be PS Now.
Yeah, that seems weird to bring a game to PS Now that is already available on PS4.
Mm-hmm. Because it's for people. Well, that's the key, is that it's not just for people that have PS4. It's for people that have a Sony television.
Oh, that's right.
It's people that are going to have the thing that they also announced. By the way, Minecraft is coming to the Vita. Right after they announced that, PlayStation TV, which is a $99 music streaming, video streaming, and PS Now box.
Guarantee no one will remember that in a year.
For $139, you can get a bundle of the PlayStation TV, DualShock, an HDMI cable, an 8GB memory card, and the Lego Movie video game. It's like a certificate, digital download certificate code that will allow you to play that. And so, yeah, I don't know. Have you seen some of the videos, like the trailers that they've put out for PlayStation? There was one that I saw that included PlayStation TV that was very cool. That you have a PS4. Well, essentially, it was showing two guys, one guy playing PS4, and then his friend comes over and he plays PS4 with him, and then his little brother comes in the room and he's like, screw this, I don't want to hang out with my little brother. Rather than grabbing the PS4 and going into the other room, he grabs the PlayStation TV, goes into the other room, and then can play his PS4 game through the PlayStation TV. Make sense? The way that you can do it with the Vita.
It's essentially a Steam box for PlayStation.
It's a Steam box for PlayStation. But, yeah. But it can do the same link. You can play... I'm thinking you might be able to even play disc games as long as through PlayStation TV connected to your PS4.
Yeah. Like whatever you put in the PS4... someone else could watch TV on the television that the PS4 is hooked up on. You can hook the PS TV up to any other television and then play Watch Dogs on your TV.
Right. And
which is a neat thing if it works.
Right. If it works. Mm-hmm. So I'm not entirely unsold on this PlayStation TV.
Games. Because if it's streaming PS4 games, that's a lot more difficult than streaming PS3 games or PS2 games.
Right. I think that'll probably be many years down the road that they can do that. The next big announcement was Mortal Kombat X.
That was a fun trailer. I mean, I'm not a fan of fighting games, but I like watching them. I like watching Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
God damn.
Yeah, yeah. And the button mashers, I'm sure, are going nuts right now. And it does look cool. Yeah,
the guy gets his face cut off, literally, at the very end.
And they put a hole through her, and then the heart drops down and goes fa-fum, fa-fum, fa-fum.
Yep. Trying to be over the top, you know.
That's the point. That's what Mortal Kombat is. Always has been. Come on, even in the arcades back in the 80s and 90s, you grabbed their head and ripped their heads off and had their spine dangling. Parents lost their fucking minds over that. It was awesome.
You don't have to want to play it. I don't particularly want to play it, but
Neither.
I look forward to seeing all the executions,
Yeah.
the fatalities.
Sure. Andrew House came back on and said Sony Entertainment on PS4 is going to bring a new series to, and not video game, but entertainment series. Powers.
I thought they spent way too much time on this.
It's pretty large, from what I gather. When I'm reading in the nerdosphere, is that it's kind of huge. Powers is based on the manga, graphic novel manga series.
Wait, is it manga? Because manga's Japanese.
Yeah, it's graphic novel.
Okay.
I guess we'd say graphic novel, comic book. Powers series, they're bringing it to Sony TV. The executive producer is Brian Michael Bendis, who is one of the two guys that did, actually both guys that did Powers, the graphic novel, are working on this as executive producers. It's going to be available in the U.S. in December.
Wait, this December?
This December.
That's really soon.
Yeah. Every PS4 user in the U.S. will see the first episode for free. All Plus subscribers in the U.S. will see the entire series for free. It's currently, they just showed, and this is what made Nick nuts, they just showed art stills from it.
Like concept art.
But,
you don't spend 20 minutes
and he's like, why don't you
talking
just
about
show
something
us the
more
thing?
about
It's
concept
like,
art.
because they said straight out they are casting it right now. It's being cast. It's
Yeah, I
too
know.
early.
But that's why you don't spend 20 minutes talking about it.
They did not spend 20 minutes. You want me to time it out?
It felt.
It felt like that because you weren't interested.
I actually
You're
am
such a
interested.
millennial. You're
I
such one of
actually
those
am
like,
interested.
why aren't you talking about me? I'm a special little snowflake. It's all about me.
I'm way more interested in this because, okay, I'm a nerd. I like superheroes. And I'm way more interested in watching the superhero show that Sony produced than any of the Microsoft-produced original shows. Like, I've seen a list of what they will be bringing, like, to Xbox Live, and it's just so hard to care about any of it. I mean, even the Halo live-action stuff that they announced, I'm kind of ambivalent about that, but I'm totally on board with a superhero show, especially one that I can watch for free.
Yeah.
So I'm interested in it. I want to actually see it.
I want
Like,
to
if you
see
just say it's
flashy. I can't use
Yes,
my
I wanna see
imagination
flashy,
and
flashy.
understand that it's in casting.
That's why
I'm not
people
going to
spend all
appreciate
that
the
time
fact that
talking
they
about
just
it.
told me something super early. I don't want to hear about it until I can see it.
Yeah, I think that's important.
I
That's what Gordon was talking about with
liked
Watch
hearing
Dogs.
about it. I liked hearing about it. Well, Watch Dogs was not entertainment. Watch Dogs was was a game. That's a different experience. Anyway, Ratchet and Clank, the movie, first half of 2015 coming to theaters, which I think was weird, but whatever. It's I'm not going to see it. Obviously, a little kid thing. And the original Ratchet and Clank is going to be reimagined for the PS4 as well. Probably to time out with the Ratchet and Clank movie if the marketing guys have anything to say about it.
Which would be weird because the first Ratchet and Clank game is nothing like the Ratchet and Clank games now.
Right.
Like absolutely nothing. It's like a hardcore Mario type platformer, like 3D Mario platformer with some fighting. But the Ratchet and Clank games now are all about the combat and less about the platforming. Mm-hmm. That's kind of a weird thing to bring back.
July 29th, Last of Us is going to be remastered for the PS4 as well. I should say,
Cool.
Last of Us Remastered has already happened. It's going to be released July 29th. And then they also showed a trailer for Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain, which the trailer is fucking awesome.
It does. I'm not sure I don't know how I feel about Metal Gear, but I'm interested.
I'm not crazy about Metal Gear, but the trailer did. I have an aesthetic appreciation for what it is, even though I'm not a big fan of the games.
I appreciate that Kojima is like batshit crazy, and all the Metal Gear Solid games feel batshit crazy because that makes them feel kind of unique. I appreciate that.
Yeah. And then here came another one of those interesting little bits of announcements that doesn't really sound that that crazy, but then they actually do the bomb drop at the end, and you're like, what? Rockstar is going to bring Grand Theft Auto 5 to the PS4 this fall. All right, interesting. I'm not interested in rebuying Grand Theft Auto 5. However, they dropped the bomb that you can transfer your online characters from your PS3 and your 360 to GTA 5 on the PS4. That's
what the Giant Bomb guy after the show, they speculate that that's probably possible because of the Rockstar Social Club.
That's exactly what they said. They said they do that through the Rockstar Social Club. They said it straight out in there.
Oh, okay,
yeah. They actually identified that specifically. It's not any kind of agreement with Microsoft for certain. It is the staved information in the social club that will allow you to be able to transfer that character over. Then we had Rocksteady and Warner Brothers that are bringing Batman Arkham Knight to the PS4.
I kind of wasn't interested in that game until I saw it.
And
that game looked so good. It looked so cool.
Yeah.
Like that city is so big and just like diving off of the building.
Yeah.
It looks kind of fun.
It does. And I'm not a Batman person at all, but yeah, I'm right up there with you. But there's going to be a Scarecrow Nightmare mission that's only going to be on the PS4 for that. And then finally, the press conference wrapped up with exactly what I expected it to have wrapped up with if I'd have planned it out myself. Uncharted 4, Thief's End, 2015. It was just a trailer. Nathan Drake looks very old and very tired.
Yep.
And
maybe not very old.
He looks very tired.
Older.
He looks older, maybe slightly fatter, not much, but you could see he's past his prime and he's going in for one more job.
And it's like, oh, Drake totally gonna die.
Right. And you get the feeling, great, he's not going to make it on this one. Hey, Pimp Daddy Joe IP is in the Joel P. It looks like Joe IP. Hey, just joined in the classroom. Or in the classroom, in the chat room. So yeah, that was the PlayStation. I thought it was I know you disagree, even though it was long, it was a very, very strong showing by PlayStation. I think that
all the game stuff was...
The game stuff, I think, was very strong. Yeah. I think the game stuff seemed more open to, like, we're going to do things that you want to do, not what we want you to do. We're going to let you transfer over characters. Oh, and by the way, Grim Fandango, you remember that game? Yeah, you get to play that on PlayStation 4, by the way. I'm still beyond excited about Grim Fandango.
That's where I order all my movie tickets.
Oh my God.
Nice.
You have no idea how much I actually went to bed at 3:30 in the morning and I was smiling. And I woke up in the morning and I was still smiling. So I'm very super duper excited about Grim Fandango. But yeah, I just got the sense that Sony is playing to the center, which is where they needed to be. That's what Microsoft should have done last year, playing to its strengths, which is right now they've positioned themselves and are not likely to want to be deposed from the point of we're the console for gamers. We listen to you. If you want it, we'll make it happen. We're on your side. And that's a smart place to be. It was essentially, that was a place that was handed to them, a message that was given to them last year, and they're still sticking with it.
I think both sides, actually, all three sides, stick with that.
Yep. Yeah, the and Microsoft definitely did a good job showing a lot of games. I think that Sony did a good job showing a lot of games and some very promising hardware. I know you don't care about hardware. You're jaded. But I think that these things are slightly promising.
I did think, like I said, I know we're talking Sony, but I happened to catch Microsoft there. Boy, I tell you, they really backed off on the whole Kinect, I felt.
Yeah, Dance Central was the only.
Yeah, that was the only one. I think the whole show that I remember seeing was anything remotely to do with a camera.
Yeah. And even when Sony brought out its peripherals, that's when they specifically made a point. It's like, we make great peripherals that you don't have to buy. We don't make them mandatory. I think that was one of those things, very almost word for word what they said. Yes, that you can trust our peripherals. You know why? Because we're not going to shove them down your throat. Well, look what happened when Microsoft made a peripheral you shove down your throat.
Kinect is still better than the PlayStation game.
Kinect is better than the PlayStation. I will agree with you there. But they did it in a bad way. Anyway, yes, there was a huge backtracking on Microsoft's part. Agreed. But they had to. And nobody even mentioned Don Matrick.
Did neither of you see Ubisoft?
I did not see Ubisoft at all. I had no time to do it. I did EA. We want to talk about EA? EA was pretty short.
I just want to mention something about Ubisoft. I mean, obviously they showed off some more stuff of Far Cry 4, which looked good. They showed more stuff off of Assassin's Creed Unity, which looks really, really good. But then they had a Rainbow Six game, which is kind of weird because remember a long time ago they had that Game Informer thing showing off Rainbow Six Patriots.
Right.
And then, everyone part of that team got, laid off, and the whole thing went on hiatus. But now they're showing off a game called Rainbow Six Siege.
Mm-hmm.
And they showed off what looked like a multiplayer match. And I don't know if the whole game is multiplayer or not. But it was kind of neat, because obviously it was terrorists versus counter-terrorists. And it was a lot like the old Rainbow Six games, like on N64, where you kind of had to plot your way into the house. Because the terrorists had taken this woman hostage in a house. And the way the actual game played, it was kind of like a capture the flag, where the flag was this woman hostage. Because she kind of kept getting taken back and forth by each side. But the destructibility of the house was incredible. Because you had people shooting through walls constantly. And at one point, the terrorists took the woman hostage, on the first floor. And the cops were like, okay, how do we get in there? So one of the guys went above to the second floor, planted some C4, blew a hole in the floor, and then shot down at the guys to free the hostage. So by the time the thing ended, this house was so shot up and so, it looked like it was nearly about to fall apart. So the destructibility seems really impressive. And just looking at the game itself, it seemed like a really interesting multiplayer mode. I don't know if there's more than that, but I think that's a cool way to show off a Rainbow Six game.
Yeah.
I was interested in that.
That looked good. Now, was it just me, or did you think this woman was enjoying going back and forth, being taken hostage by the two groups?
Oh, she was totally in love.
She was totally into this thing.
She's like, take me hostage, please.
That's what I thought too.
Mm-hmm.
The game itself was good too.
Yeah.
But yeah, anything Rainbow Six. Yes. I'm hoping.
It's good to see that franchise is not dead.
Yeah, and I just hope it's not linear. A lot of Rainbow Six was so linear. It's like everything was down the same corridor, especially back in the day. And that's what turned Rainbow Six off for me. It was just, okay, you got this big open area, and then it funnels down one corridor, one door, and you got to breach and clear, and then it opens up, and then you got to go one door at a time. It's just, and I know but
in this multiplayer mode, it looked less that, because before the cops invaded, you could hear the people kind of strategizing, and they said oh, should we go through the garage?
Yeah,
no, they've always got the garage booby trapped.
Yeah, surrounding.
So let's go through the house. Let's go through the roof.
Yeah, well, it might not be that bad.
Yeah.
So what else came out on Ubisoft? Anything interesting?
Microsoft?
Or
Ubisoft?
Ubisoft. That's what you were talking about, right? Ubisoft.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They also showed off more of The Division, which looks like a third-person shooter MMO, but it's not an MMO, so I don't know what that game is.
Yeah, that's how I felt about it.
They also showed off more of The Crew, which looks like a pretty neat racing game.
In other words, it sounds like Ubisoft's press conference was, here's all the stuff that we told you about last year that we didn't release last year. Because The Division got delayed, right?
Kinda, yeah.
And The Crew was
off...
supposed to be a launch title.
No, that was Drive Club.
I'm sorry, Drive Club. You're right.
But yeah, they still showed it off last year. I mean, Rainbow Six, Assassin's Creed, and Far Cry were all new. Mm-hmm. And Assassin's Creed and Far Cry coming out this year, so that's cool.
Mm-hmm. Any other huge announcements? Any new IPs?
They have a little game called Valiant Hearts, which is like this cartoony-looking action platformer set in World War I. That's also like very serious. Like it's not a jokey game, even though it looks.
I can't imagine why World War I wouldn't be jokey. Yeah, all right.
Yeah, it's strange.
What was that one again, Nick?
Valiant Hearts.
I think that's out on PC. I remember seeing that somewhere. Either that or iPad. It might be on Steam. That's the one with a little crazy dog walking the cartoon?
Yeah. Little dogs walking, like reading letters.
Yeah, I don't know where I've seen that before. I want to say that's on Steam. And I might have seen that at PAX East last year. But I've seen that one before. Maybe it was on Steam.
Valiant Hearts, The Great War. And it is from Ubisoft. And it is on... Release date was June 25th, 2014. It's...
Oh, so it's not out yet.
It's not out yet. But it is on Windows, PS3, PS4, 360, and 1.
Okay, yeah, I've seen that somewhere, and it looked interesting. It really did.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm looking at it. Yeah, I'm always interested, especially World War II and turn of the century stuff. That's always really interesting to me.
So yeah, like, it's funny, most of Ubisoft's big games got showed off at other press conferences. Mm-hmm. So there's not a whole lot to talk about, especially since, like, I think The Crew looks neat, and that's all I can say. The Division looks something.
Yeah.
That's all I can say about that.
Yeah. I don't know. There's part of me that wants to like the idea of Division, but also another part of me that's like, ugh, seeing it.
I want to like the idea, but I don't know what that game is.
Kevin Bolweir says Valiant Hearts was one of the best trailers at E3. So don't listen to them, Edie. Go watch the trailer. I will. This is
I didn't say it had a bad trailer.
See, people are making fun of you already because you just hate everything this year. You're Mr. Grumpy.
What did I hate?
Everything. It's like a PowerPoint presentation. Oh.
I hated half.
It's a box. It's gonna fail. You're all gonna die.
I hated half the PlayStation conference. Most of the other conferences I thought were fine.
You'll never make it.
We're doomed. Schleplock. And you know what's awesome is that it's a joke that Gully, you and I can make that he doesn't get.
Yep.
Young folk.
I'll just Google it.
You do that. All right, well, it's okay. EA had kind of a bunch of stuff. God, they went into a lot of sports stuff. Ooh, they hit the EA Sports hard with golf.
You know something? That's on my list to talk about here. That was really neat. It's been
It was golf on Battlefield.
Yes, that's true.
Playing on
that's true. You can
the C map there.
Yeah, over the battleship.
And that was brilliant for them because okay, we've had golf, we've had Tiger Woods, we've done it over and over, but to take golf but not go outlaw golf, but still make it fun. Mm-hmm. That is very interesting because I haven't picked up a golf game in 3 or 4 years since I had the Tiger Woods. It's fine. Don't get me wrong, it's fine. I love a golf game in the PS4, and I would love a variation like that. Just something a little crazy.
Yeah,
that you could play in weird, setups, and I don't know. Nick, I like that. Did you?
Yeah, I mean, it's a golf game, sure, but hey, I would rather golf on a battlefield than a golf
Yeah, that
course.
might bring in
Yeah,
guys
that's true. That might actually bring me to it.
who, golf is boring, but you bring in that. It's almost like a miniature golf.
Yeah.
I mean, without,
Growing up putt-putt.
yeah, exactly. But that was kind of neat, driving over the thing and having it drop as the ship crashed, and the guy's like unshaken. He's at the tee, just like settling, checking the wind. Bullets flying over his head.
All right. So anyway, EA started with DICE, a Star Wars game. They still not a lot of information on it, but they made a big
showed
deal.
off a stormtrooper helmet.
Well, they made a big
R2-D2.
deal that it's coming out in spring 2015. They went to Lucas and went to the original props, the original set pieces, and they went to the original locations. In fact, you weren't very excited about that, but I'll tell you this. Kevin was walking through the room while I was watching this, stopped in his tracks, and came back over and said, roll that back. And he's like, holy shit. Because if they're going to these original locations, these are all over the world to map these things out. So he was like, wow, I'm really excited about that game. I'm really interested. So it may not have appealed to you, but it definitely appealed to Kevin. It definitely appealed to the Star Wars nerds. Hardcore Star Wars nerds.
Oh,
And granted, that's what they want to do.
Right, exactly. So anyway, Andrew Wilson, the CEO of EA, came out wearing makeup. He really needs to lay off the makeup. And went into Dragon Age Inquisition. They brought out Aaron Flynn.
So good.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm really excited about that.
Yeah. Aaron
I've
Flynn, the
seen-
GM of BioWare, came out.
I actually watched more of that on a Twitch stream where they went into more detail about how the combat works.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds really great because it sounds like it's a mix between the heavily turn-based of Origins and the action-based of Dragon Age 2.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can play it like Dragon Age 2, where it's all real time. And you have to keep hitting the button to attack, and it's very action focused and fast. But you can also pause time and enter everything manually and just kind of let your guys do their thing, like Dragon Age Origins. You can pull the camera back really far and just give orders like your commander.
Right.
So it's you can literally switch between the two combat modes.
Yeah, I guess it was a targeting mode, which is you're on the ground, and then the tactical mode, tactical camera.
And what was neat,
And you
is
can
that in
pause the
demo I
battle
saw-
and control it, which is awesome.
Yeah. In the battle I saw, they were fighting a dragon, and the guy made a point of saying, since the dragon's so big, you can actually target individual limbs,
Mm-hmm.
and that will affect how the dragon walks.
Right.
So, partway through the battle, they damaged its front two legs really bad, and it started limping, like it was on the ground and it couldn't move as well.
Uh-huh.
So that just seems like another great layer of strategy on there. We've gone a long time without seeing much of that game,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm so on board with it.
Good. Yeah, October 7th, 2014. I've always been involved with it. They did also announce a new Mass Effect with a new region of space that's they said it's larger. Or did they say it's larger? I have a question mark at it. It must be larger.
I don't know, because they didn't really... It was kind of like Star Wars. They just showed off concept art.
He said there's going to be new characters, not old characters. And they said, quote,
Good.
fans are going to be surprised just how far we're going. And that's the Montreal studio is working on Mass Effect. The Edmonton is a studio is working on a new IP, a contemporary story. And that's all they left it at. They really didn't say, but they've got a new IP that's coming out of Edmonton as well.
I'm really glad to see BioWare making something new.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Because, when they made something new, they made Dragon Age, and then they made Mass Effect, then they did Dragon Age. And they've kind of stuck with those two franchises for a long time.
Right. They need another kick in the pants. And when I have a lot of faith when they bring out a new IP. They really don't do it quickly, and they also don't do it sloppily. They think this shit through all the way. Rachel Franklin from EA came out to introduce Sims 4. This Sims is you are going to actually be able to control their personality and their emotions, which are going to affect your interactions. Essentially, your personalities are going to drive behavior.
Do you still play that?
Yeah. When it's in front of me, I go through spurts of where I play it. I still freaking love The Sims. But the problem is that it's always the same thing. You just go in there and you go and fuck and have babies and then, piss on yourself. But that's eventually what's going to happen and kill people. Eventually it turns to sex and death. But yeah, it's your personalities are going to be much more. Personalities of your Sims are going to be much more come into play, with them not only affecting how they react to the situations, but how they actually act to other Sims. Let's see. So save Sims with their personalities. That's going to be set September 2nd. I might get it. It's a known quantity. For the fans of UFC, of whom I'm not one, the big announcement for them is that Bruce Lee is going to be coming to UFC. It
seems like such a weird choice for UFC.
Yeah. But you can actually fight as Bruce Lee. And that's coming out June 17th. So, what, like 10 days from now? What date is it? Is this the 7th? No, it's 6 days from now. End of the week. NHL 15, Dean Richards, the studio manager, they brought out NHL 15. The physics are all on 12 players. They improved the physics on all 12 players and the puck. And the most detailed arenas ever built for NHL 15.
It looks amazing.
Doesn't it? I mean, I don't like sports games, but it looked fucking awesome.
Because I was playing my 360 NHL game the other day, and that is gorgeous. And I looked at this and I was like, oh man, imagine what they can do with the new consoles with the hockey games. And I was watching the jerseys ripple when they skated, and I was like, oh my gosh, this looks so good. And on top of being able to create videos and stream, I'm really looking forward to a hockey game on the PS4. Really am. I saw that. That's on my list. I got a few things I checked off as like highlights of the show that I saw, and PGA Tour golf and NHL 15 were right up there. And so goalie's happy to be playing some hockey on the PS4, be able to stream some hockey and get some clips. I know all my hockey buddies, we all put up clips when we could, but now, be able to take some great goals and upload them right to YouTube.
Right to YouTube.
Yeah, or Facebook or whatever. So that is going to be fun. Be able to, hey, look at this goal right here and go put it up on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, whatever.
Right.
That is going to be fun this fall. So that's one game that's not been delayed for 2 years. And
right, because then it would be, they'd have to change the name.
17.
Maybe it was delayed. Maybe this is NHL 13. It's just been delayed 2 years.
That's awesome.
Wah, wah, wah. Patrick Soderlund, from the executive vice president of EA, talked about Criterion Games. They said this is a very, very, very early announcement to let you know that Criterion is working on a game. Doesn't even have a name yet. It is a brand new IP. And he says it's going to have absolutely everything in it. It is the biggest game Criterion's ever made. That's a quote. It will have ATVs. It will have boats. It will have helicopters. It'll have wingsuits. It'll have jet skis. If it has wings or wheels or skis, it will be in this game. But it's too early to say anything more about it. Which is...
Can I just say that that's one of the peeves about E3 is we got this great game coming out. Can't tell you anything about it. Can't tell you what it's called. Can't tell you what it's going to be, but you're going to love it.
Well, EA did that a lot. EA showed off a lot of things that are like...
Yeah, EA they made a point of showing stuff that was pretty much very close to being released.
Didn't like that. I don't like when they do that.
In the other ones, but yeah, EA will throw out the stuff like, hey, this is what we're rolling on. Yeah. It's either coming out next week or 3 years from now.
Yeah, so it's like, come on, that I don't like that.
Yeah,
because I'm going to forget all about it. I really am. And then, here we are again. It's like, shut up. Just put the game out,
Yeah. EA Tiburon. Cam Weber, Studio GM, talked about EA Sports and talked about the golf on Frostbite, PGA Tour, no load times between holes, and of course he called it golf without limits, and then showed us the golfing over a battleship crashing into the into the island, which was awesome.
Yep.
Madden 15, improved defense. They made a big deal. It's like, all right, we got the offense down, but seriously, at least half the game is defense, and now we're making defense more freaking awesome. You will be able to change the camera with they've made changes in camera with improved mechanics for tackles. And a lot more player emotion and reactions that are going to be seamless to the game. It's going to be playable at E3 and is due out in August 26th.
They're trying to bring back the vision mode.
Mm-hmm.
They had that years ago, whereas there's a little triangle that comes up that gets larger that supposedly shows you what you're seeing.
Mm-hmm.
And they're bringing that back in, and that keeps coming in and keeps coming out. I don't think I'm going to get Madden this year, even though they're trying to improve the defense. Madden's one of those games where if you get it every other year, then you notice the bump.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't get it, if you get it every year, the differences are just too slight.
Right.
They really are. And unless it's, occasionally they'll have enough things change that you'll notice. But I tend to do what a lot of people do, buy it every other year. Unless, like I said, a new team joins, which hasn't happened in a long time, or somebody does a logo change and you want to see that. But, if you get Madden every other year, then you'll notice a difference every 2 years, whereas you usually don't every 1 year.
Right.
That's my advice.
Next thing they brought out was Dawngate, which is a brand new MOBA that I don't know or like MOBAs, so I couldn't tell you if that's exciting or not, but they made it look like it. I should be excited. Which I guess is their job. You should be excited about this. It's a MOBA. But they made a big deal about they wanted you to tell them, you as players, they want players to tell us what you think about what you saw at E3 and wanted to get feedback from you. And I think that's kind of, if there was a theme of E3, it's we're listening to you. All of everybody. Everybody learned from last year, whatever you do, listen to the players. We're listening. Please tell us. So if you want to make some changes to the way things do, I would suggest that now is a time to start your letter writing campaigns, because apparently they're listening now.
Wait, I don't understand. Are they listening?
Yeah, they're totally listening now. At least that's what they say they are.
Are they listening now?
They're listening right now. In fact, I am actually going to suggest that if they want to know what people think, they should listen to GameHounds. We would be a good source.
I didn't mean what I said. I'm sorry.
I loved your statistics, Sony. Please don't disconnect me.
It was amazing.
Please don't disable my PlayStation. DICE brought out Mirror's Edge 2.
Yes. And you know what's so good about that? I didn't see her pick up a goddamn gun.
No, I didn't either.
Oh.
Yeah. More stripped down, very clean aesthetic as usual. Faith is still a badass. But here's an interesting thing that I picked up, and I actually wrote it down because I thought it was so important. It's important that everybody who wants to play can play the game. And I think that's a lot of times a barrier to parkour games. Is that that sometimes they become so complicated and so complex that you can't get through stuff. That's how I kind of felt about Mirror's Edge. I mean, it was fun. What little I played.
Mirror's Edge especially was a challenging game because you controlled her every jump and every turn. And I remember there's one part where you had to run, then wall run across this billboard, then turn around and jump off. And in Assassin's Creed, that would have been a simple 2-button thing. But in Mirror's Edge, it was, okay, run towards the billboard at the right angle so that when I jump, I hit the button to start wall running. Then as I'm wall running, I have to hit a button to turn towards the next ledge. And then I have to hit the jump button to jump off at the right time while I'm in front of that ledge. And when you do that successfully, it feels incredible, but
it's all those other times you failed to get up to that point that kind of became a barrier.
50 times before we're fail. I did it. Yes.
Right.
Next jump, fail. Oh,
Yeah. And that's what kind of drove me away from Mirror's Edge. So I liked when I heard that, and it's like, okay, all right, I'm with you now. I'm interested in Mirror's Edge because I like the game. I like the aesthetic of the game. I like the idea of the game. I want to support this game, especially as a woman. It's an incredibly strong, independent female character. She is one of the more enigmatic female characters that's out there in the video game world. So I really want to play her, but I couldn't play her because I really couldn't play the game. It didn't keep me there.
Does a female character, and I'm being serious, I'm not being a wise guy here. Does being a female, does having a female character really make a difference to you?
Yes.
Really?
Oh,
Cause
absolutely.
Let me just say, because as just a guy that I play the games, I kind of don't look at that. Like, I play Call of Duty or Battlefield, whatever, but then I turn around and I play Tomb Raider, and it wasn't Outlast. What was the other one there? The other horror one there? Daylight, I think it was. Daylight. And that had a female lead character. Mm-hmm. I kind of... It doesn't faze me either way.
Right. And I think that
it didn't bother me as a guy. It didn't bother me to play as a woman. I wasn't like, oh, man, I'm playing as a woman. This sucks. I need to be a guy. I kind of just, as the game plays good.
Right.
To me, it does. Like, I mean, if I have the choice, like when you start off, I don't know if Skyrim did that or whatever, but some games, like, do you want to be a female or a male, whatever? Oh, of course, I usually always take the male, just being a guy. But I mean, if I don't have the choice and it's like you have to be one or the other, kind of doesn't matter.
And I think that I can see that
some people do mind.
Yeah, and I think, well, it's not the some people, and it's you have to understand that when you Nick and you Goalie play video games, 99% of video games are characters that are like you. And so when you play something different, it doesn't faze you. The thing is that 99% of characters are not me. So when you are so much the oddball in the game space, when you find something that you do kind of connect with on a very visceral level, like not even a visceral, that's not even, it's a, I don't know, how do I describe it? It's the kind of, it's like imagine this. It's being the one white guy in an all black school. And if you went to school like that, the guys around you wouldn't be looking at you like, oh, you're the black guy. They'd be like, you're just a guy. But that one guy, black guy, it never leaves his head that he is the one black guy in the white school. And it's like that for women. When you are the women in playing games and all the characters out there are not you, when you find something that is you, it actually means something. It's really important, especially when it's a female character that is not needing to be saved, that is tough and is not reliant upon a man. There's really no reliance upon a man at all. I mean, I can play a female character in Dragon Age. I can play a female character even in Halo now. But that's not the same of having, this is your star. When you guys see Shepard, you're thinking a guy. When you say Commander Shepard, it's a guy. It's in your head. And the only thing that I can do is change it so that my Commander Shepard is different from everybody else's. That helps. But when you have one character who is a strong female that is not reliant upon males, and it's just like, oh yeah, she's a badass. Period. The end. It's not a badass who had this happen to her or who became a badass because of this.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, it's probably like when I watch TV and they have something hockey come up. Hockey it's always baseball, basketball, football. Mm-hmm. And so when something hockey comes up, it's like, oh, this is really cool. You never see hockey here. Right. Like when they mention it in a mainstream
show. But
it's
so much more than just that. It's more about who you identify as. Something that is an inescapable part of you that is you. And so, like, you could hide the fact that you're a hockey fan if you needed to. Yeah. You can't hide the fact that you're female.
Oh,
you can't hide your race. Actually, yeah, you can.
You're supposed to keep a secret.
Nick does a great job of it. Okay.
Anyway, next game was FIFA 15. David Redder, executive producer. Players now have memories. so that when they get into the emotion of a particular game, that emotion will carry over into how they play and how they react, which is kind of cool. So in a match, like say they get tripped and they get a bad call or something didn't happen, they get pissed off and they play pissed off.
How do you program that into a game?
I have no idea, but FIFA is on the cutting edge of that shit.
Yeah, I didn't like FIFA, but I can see that people who do like soccer would like
Love that game. Fall 2014 for that one. Then they hit up Visceral and Battlefield Hardline, which, as everybody knows, cops versus criminal, 32-player match. There's going to be a heist mode, which is where the criminals go and knock over a armored car, and then the cops need to catch them, and the criminals need to escape. But
so that by itself kind of makes me excited for it.
Yeah, it's a whole different take. It's like a capture the flag almost.
Yeah, but the thing is, I don't know, because I know that there's a single player mode. They've talked about. They haven't talked anything about it. They've just said there's going to be a single player campaign. That still doesn't seem like the kind of game that should be a $60 standalone game. It feels like an expansion pack or a DLC.
Right.
So I'm kind of disappointed with how they're presenting it, but I'm a little on board with it, more than I was the other day.
Yeah. And what they showed at E3, or at EA's press conference, let me write down what I wrote in gigantic letters on my notepad. This is the page. Looks fucking awesome! Exclamation point! Exclamation point! Crane! Exclamation point! Exclamation point!
Okay.
Tanker truck! Exclamation point! Exclamation point!
But okay, it does get kind of absurd when you stop and actually think about it. Wait a minute. This was a heist that literally took down 3
destroys the city.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
This is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Absurd.
Oh, it's freaking.
Not necessarily in a bad way. It's just when you stop to think about it, it's like,
Oh, that looks very, very cool. Anyway, the beta was out today, which was Monday. PS3, PC, and PS4 only for this beta. You can go through battlefield.com. October 21st is the game releases. So that's what they ended was one on Battlefield, which was let's face it, that demo was badass. Bad ass.
Although, and one of the guys from Giant Bomb brought this up. One of the things that makes it such an awful representation of what it's actually like to play that game, that main guy never died.
That's true.
That is such bullshit.
I actually liked the fact that they switched back and forth in the demonstration from the cops version to the criminals version to the cops version to the criminals version.
Yeah.
And I like here's something else that I think that mode, the cops versus criminals, is really going to help Battlefield. Is because when you're playing Battlefield now, you are Chinese or you are American, or whatever, or Russian or whatever. So you're on 2 teams, but the teams don't really have a cohesion to them because they don't really identify. If you're playing cops and robbers, you're identifying. It automatically sets up in everyone's minds a side that they are fighting for, as opposed to just my team. Like, I just want to win. I just want to kill guys. See what I'm saying? I'm just here for the points. I'm just here for the headshots.
Oh yeah, hopefully it gets people into a mindset that makes them want.
Right. It's like headshots count for nothing if you don't get the money.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. If the loot gets caught, then why are you standing out there shooting at things? If you're not helping, then you're not doing well. Yeah, it's a game that is automatically encouraging team gameplay. Sure, it is still a shooter. Bullware says Battlefield, it's still a shooter. It is still a shooter. Right, but sometimes it's the psychology of the setting that will change the way that it is played. And I think the psychology of the setting of cops versus robbers which it goes it's one of the first games kids play together, cops versus robbers. We're going to play that game differently simply because it is cops versus robbers. I should say cops and robbers. It's cops and robbers.
I wasn't really thrilled about when I saw that, but they may be able to turn that into something really good.
I think it looks great. I think it looks.
Oh, looks great.
That crane was God. All it was so when they showed flipping back and forth with the tanker truck, and they flipped it halfway through when it exploded. Then they flipped it back to the cops, where you could see from the helicopter of like after the explosion, and you're like, Jesus Christ, that was awesome. It looks like I'm sold. Let's face it, it's going to be broken for the first 2 weeks that it's out anyway, so who cares? So nobody will be able to get on any of the servers for at least a week. It's the way it goes.
Yeah. Oh yeah, well that's how everything is nowadays.
Yep. So, well, overall thoughts about what you've heard from E3 so far?
Yeah, just the quick notes that I had here that jumped out at me was the PGA Tour golf. The whole battlefield feel to it was a neat twist on golf, and I'm interested to see how that plays out. And I'm hoping that it's a good golf sim as well as a fun golf sim. NHL 95, obviously, I'm going to pick up on the new console, and it looks great, and I'm hoping they continue with that. Madden, I'm not too sure about. Like I said, I might wait a year on next. I already have Madden for PS4. Rainbow Six, like Nick talked about, that looks good. Bloodborne. Dead Island 2, that could be a sleeper. The last one was a sleeper, too.
There's a difference between a sleeper and a snoozer.
Yeah, this is true. And then the one that really you guys talked about, No Man's Sky, that when you start on your own planet and you just explore, and that could be a good late night game when you don't want to go kill things. You know, you just want to putz around. Maybe you're not in the mood for a puzzle game. You just want to fly around, and I'm dying for that open world flying around through space and game. This one could be it. Mm-hmm. No Man's Sky. And the only thing right now is I'm looking at the Xbox One, and they had a good press conference as well. Still, I have no need for one yet, but we had talked in the past on what would it take to get you to buy an Xbox One at this point, now that they've, made all these changes. For me, if Crackdown and Evolve were Xbox exclusive, and I don't think they are. Maybe Crackdown, but I know
Crackdown is.
Crackdown is exclusive.
Mm-hmm.
Crackdown itself, if it was as good as Crackdown 2, whereas you can play the 4-player co-op and get the orbs, we played that to death. That was so good. That itself wouldn't get me to buy Xbox One, but if Evolve was Xbox One and Crackdown, they both come out relatively close at the same time, and I can only play them on Xbox One, that might be it, because I know I put hours into Crackdown 2, and I would probably put hours into Evolve, especially in the co-op mode. So that's one thing that may get me to buy the Xbox One. It would have to be a couple of games. One just ain't going to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think my overall impression of all of the press conferences that I saw, and kind of the stuff that I've watched, the interviews and stuff with some of the developers, is E3 2014 is the year of going back to basics. Jaeger, even in the chat room, mentioned that Microsoft didn't even say the word Kinect in its press conference. Made a point of showing us games and leaving the peripherals behind, keeping it simple, going back to basics. Games that were old games are coming back to and being refreshed and being put to the new consoles. That they're turning back and saying, hey, all right, instead of clearly this whole like new, better, faster, awesome, it's going to be great. You need this and you need that and you need this thing plugged in your console and you need that plugged into your console. That now they're saying, all right, well, let's go back to play to our base, play to our core. We know what people want. Let's do that. It was about games, and more games. Really the only new thing that was brought up, only new plastic thing that was brought up in all of E3, including Nintendo, was the PlayStation TV. That's it. That's as much as Nick, you were complaining about them talking about hardware. E3 is where they release hardware.
Sony specifically, because none of their hardware.
But that was the only hardware. They're going back to games.
I didn't say E3 had too much hardware. I said Sony did.
Yeah, because they had one. They had one piece of new hardware. Do you remember what Sony was in the past? It was at least 3 or 4 things that they would announce. Yeah. New screens, new televisions.
And nobody uses any of the peripherals anymore.
Right. They're keeping it simple. And I think that the PlayStation TV that'll be a more successful than you think it is. I don't know if I'd call it a hit, but I think it'll be more successful than you think.
The PlayStation camera, the PS4 camera, is really popular through no action that Sony took. They gumped their way to success with that thing.
Right. I think that, but clearly everything that was old is new, including the mindset of keep it about games, which I think is good. And I think that we're starting to see a lot more of games where the new technology that does matter is in graphics. You're starting to see the processing power of these machines starting to really begin to be used like they're supposed to be used.
Did you see the size of the crowd in Assassin's Creed?
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, exactly. Did you see that? I mean, do I need to go back to that page again? Crane, Tiger truck. Things that are going seamless from seamless transitions between cutscenes and gameplay, seamless transitions from hole to hole on the golf. We're starting to see them really get into the nuts and bolts of the way these things work and start to rev them up and use them the way they're supposed to be used. Oh, Piss does mention Morpheus was mentioned. Yes, Morpheus was mentioned.
Yeah, and Morpheus is going to be even more of a failure than the Vita, because no one's going to. The Morpheus is there to troll Oculus Rift.
Yeah. By the way, I used an Oculus Rift when I was at the Bloomberg Next Big Thing conference with Game of Thrones, and we were in a room and we were opposite of Oculus Rift, so we had all day sitting next to Oculus, and I used it finally. It's fucking awesome. It's really, really cool. I did not use it in a game. I watched a Beck concert that had 3 different cameras, one outside, one beyond the audience, one right at the edge of the stage, and one on stage with him. And it's really, really cool. It's like being on stage with Beck. It's crazy. So yeah, Oculus. I'm a little more sold than about what it is than before I tried it.
Kevin Bowl mentioned Nintendo, and we didn't. But I didn't see the press conference, but I watched a couple of the videos from there. Mm-hmm. They had some cool things.
Yeah.
The new Zelda game seems genuinely awesome.
Like, I've heard a lot of great news about that. Yeah.
It's an open world game that looks beautiful, and the characters kind of cel shaded. That could be really great. And then they had this thing called Mario Maker, which is like you make your own Mario levels.
Yeah, I saw that.
And
I've heard that it's a great idea, and it's not as easy. I mean, it's easy to start, but it's hard to master. It's kind of difficult.
Which is nice.
Yeah.
So I think you might actually get some use out of your Wii U now.
Yeah.
And they didn't show it at any press conference, but they did on the GameSpot stage. They showed off Xenoblade Chronicles, the new one, like Xenoblade Chronicles X, which is just cool because that was an incredible RPG for the Wii, and this one actually looks like a modern game.
Yep.
And another game that they haven't shown off in a press conference, but I've watched a lot of video of it while we were listening to this podcast, is Shadow over Mordor, the Lord of the Rings game.
Oh?
That thing looks legitimately amazing.
Really? Is it a Wii U?
No, it's on like all consoles. Well, maybe not Wii U. PS4 and Xbox One. But it is Assassin's Creed in Mordor, in terms of combat and maneuverability. But you also have that orc war chief hierarchy, where like you can take control of one of these orcs and either kill him, or you could sort of mind control him and say betray your commander.
Right.
And so the video that they showed off on GameSpot was a lot of that, of like you taking over this orc, sort of bending him to your will, and then attacking another orc in order to get your guy into that position, to like get him into a higher position of power, or to basically use these other orcs as assassins to kill these other ones. And the whole system, just to actually see it play out in this like 40-minute video, was super, super impressive.
Right.
That game's gonna be one to watch. That was cool.
Yeah, somebody mentioned in the chat room Splatoon, which is kind of a kid-friendly shooter. And I've heard some very good things about that. The people are saying it's, and I'm watching it very carefully.
One.
That was a Nintendo one. Yep. Kevin Bulware says it looks like the game of the show. And
I don't know about that. Did you see elephants in Far Cry 4?
Exploding elephants, dude. The crane. Did you see the crane? Grim fucking Fandango. Hello. I don't know if you call Grim Fandango game of the show, even though it was the thing I'm most excited about. I mean, it is kind of an old game.
Yeah, you guys, if you liked it, sure, why not?
I don't know if I liked it, but I can't wait to play it. Finally, I get to play Grim Fandango. Finally. It's not kid friendly. Okay, because I've been told it was. I only heard about it, and it was described to me as a kid friendly shooter. But yeah, I think that the other thing that I got out of this whole day of press conferences, and really kind of the whole event in general, that small game studios are becoming a really big deal.
I thought that was the case last year.
I thought, but yeah, it's even more so
when
now.
Sony like lined up all those indie developers on stage.
Right. Well, that's the thing, is that before they were kind of all in their own corral. Like, okay, here's all our indie stuff, and here's all this game. Here's all these people that are doing all these little games, and it's like, yep, and this is all our indie games. And now back to our AAA titles. You notice there wasn't that this year. Is they introduced these indie games made by freaking graduates of Carnegie Mellon and San Jose State. They introduced those at the same level, at the same time as
No Man's Sky.
No Man's Sky. They did that at the same time as, what did they open with? Destiny. They went from Destiny to an indie game, putting them on equal footing, not putting them on their own little like, oh, and here's our indie area. You don't get to play with the big boys yet. I think this is the year that indie developers are finally getting their props, and I think it's great, because I think there's a lot to be said for the great things that the big companies have done, but there's also a lot more to be said about the smaller companies that have kind of forged a new ground that the big companies picked up later. Essentially, what they would do is they'd go in and they'd buy that company, and then next thing you know, that was what they did. You know, that was your hope. It was like an IP in a website. You made a great idea and then hoped Google bought it. And kind of the days of Google buying, the equivalent of Google buying, the EA coming in, swooping down, buying out a studio, and then forming, essentially taking the IP and making it their own, kind of going away, because there's getting to be too many of these small to medium-sized studios that are making really good games and that sell a lot on a shoestring budget.
And ironically, a lot of those indie developers used to work at places
used to work
EA,
exactly. It's Viva. Do you talk about Viva la Revolution? There's your Viva la Revolution. This is the first year that small and medium-sized studios are put on the same par as Disney and EA and BioWare. So it's a good thing. I'm very excited for this year of games. It's going to only get better.
Yeah, Goalie, you complain a lot about stuff getting delayed, but I still think the end of this year has a lot of really great things coming out that I'm not worried at all.
Oh,
I'll have
it does.
more than enough. to play.
Don't get me wrong. We will definitely have some good games this year, but it's just frustrating just trying to follow this E3, and you're like, well, here's one that it's so bad that we got a new game coming out. We're not even going to mention. Nope, you can't even look at it. Nope, can't touch. You can't even point at it. It's come on. Why even tease us like that?
I don't mind it. They've always done that.
I know.
They've always done that.
Hate it.
It puts it in the back. That's the thing, is that you can't get excited about absolutely everything. They're just putting it in the back of your mind. Criterion is working on the biggest game it's ever worked on, ever. That's all they said. And that's good. That's good for me to know. Nice to know. Criterion's working on something really effing big. I will watch Criterion from now on to see what this is. Kevin Bulwer says the biggest announcement was that Bayonetta will be included with Bayonetta 2 on Wii U. Now Edie can finally play the best game ever made. I did play Bayonetta.
That is a good
I
game.
demoed it in at Tokyo Game Show in Tokyo and wasn't that impressed. It is a game.
It's a third-person action game.
I know. I
really
remember.
good one.
It's the Sarah Palin
really
action
good
game. I know.
But I don't know how into those games you are.
Not really.
Yeah. There you go.
Exactly. I wasn't into Kirby either. I know, you're not into Kirby. But I'm kind of also interested in this new Zelda thing. Never played a Zelda game in my life, but I'm kind of interested in the Zelda game. There's a part of me that really wants to fire up something on the Wii U. Really wants to fire up something on the Wii U this year.
I could see you getting into a Zelda game.
Yeah. I'm fairly sure I
It's
would.
an open world action game.
Yep. Fairly sure I would. All right, so is there anything else that we want to talk about before we shut this mofo down? Any other things that stand on your brain?
Just a lot of watching other games.
Yep. What's the next big game that's coming out, other than the sports games that they're all coming out in the next month?
You mean like in the next couple months?
No, like the next week. I mean, a lot of them are coming out in like this month or next month.
No, they're not. There's nothing coming out in like this summer. This summer is dead. This summer's
I'm talking about this.
Actually, this summer's not even dead because that requires something to have existed and then died. This is just like a desert. It's like a wasteland where there was never life and there can be no life.
Well, there's what was that? Entwined. Entwined's out. I'm gonna go play that.
Okay.
Probably pick that up. And then there's the betas. Hopefully, I will get chosen. Hopefully, if one of us gets chosen, make sure you let the rest of us know, so we know.
Yeah.
And all right. I guess that's it. Let's close this out. You have been listening to GameHounds, episode 266, our E3 wrap-up show. We recorded this on June 11th, 2014. I'm Edie Sellers. With me has been Holy Goalie and Nick DiNicola. The ways to get a hold of us, gamehounds.net is our website. That is getting updated now. Our RSS feed there is also getting updated. So if you want to sign up for an RSS feed, you can go to gamehounds.net and find it there. You can also sign up for us. By the way, if you haven't already done it so, can you please go give us some feedback on iTunes? We would love to have feedback from you to let you know what we're doing, to let us know what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong. What did they say? We want to hear from you. It's the theme of this year. We do want to hear from you. iTunes, please leave us a review. Also, if you could let us know how we're doing or give us any feedback, gamehounds@gmail.com is our email. We have a text and voicemail line. That number is
304-300-9889.
And then there's our Facebook page. Great place to sign up for. On our Facebook page, look for the GameHounds. You can get updates of news items as they happen, fed to your Facebook feed. You can stay apprised of all the things that are important. Piss Boy keeps that. As things happen, he's putting it up there. Facebook.com under the GameHounds. And then finally, there's our Twitch and our Spreaker account. If you're listening to us on iHeartRadio, thank you. If you're listening to us on Spreaker, Thank you. But, you can listen to us live on Spreaker every Wednesday starting 11 o'clock Pacific. Doing this show, join us in the chat room. We would love to have you. That is Spreaker.com. And then, of course, on iHeartRadio, you can find us by looking up GameHounds on iHeartRadio. I actually think it might be GameHounds. GameHounds Live, you'll find it. All right, so anything else before we say goodbye? Any class comments?
Anything been
Final
delayed?
shots across the bow?
Anything been delayed since we started?
No, not yet. We'll talk to you guys next week. Bye-bye.